I've just got two more questions I want to ask quite quickly, because we're just about running out of time now. Gary, I'll just come to you first on this one again. It sort of relates to a question we had earlier on about language with the business and that sort of thing. How do you promote an SOA in the business when the business shows no interest in business process management, BPM?
Well, that's kind of difficult. So maybe then it's a business model view. So agility at the business model level. So what is, it starts with the annual report statements, or the chairman or the CEO's statements of intent and strategy. You need to find that level of artifact that says, actually, the most critical thing is to be able to reduce my time to market for my next product down from 6 months to 2 weeks or a month. And that's what the sales director's been mission doing. If he doesn't do it in 3 months, he's going to get fired. That gives you an agenda that you can then start to work. And ultimately, you will then translate that into a business process that may be articulating someone's head right now, but you need to drive forward on there. But it is a difficult problem, and it's, again, easy to say. You've got to find a way and find opportunities in the language, in the vocabulary that you're using, but also in terms of the personnel, the business analyst and the IT architect and advocate, working together. Maybe if the boardroom is smart, they'll encourage that behaviour between the different parties. But that is a difficult one, yeah. And governance is part of the answer, but not the only part. There's a lot of culture around that as well.
Yeah. So we most often see that kind of problem when people define the objective as, we need to start doing BPM because we need to get smarter about the way we do things, blah, 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 blah. If you define a problem and you say, right, we're going to start working together on this problem, which you have to do anyway when you're solving business problems, and you just start using some of this stuff around a particular problem, and you're kind of educating them on the value of doing this along the way. But the focus is something that they care about. It's not some kind of nebulous, generic, we just need to get smarter about the way we do things kind of pitch.
At the end of the day, you need a business case. And so before you're doing any IT change at all, fundamentally these days, you've got to be able to justify that with a sound business case. And so that's really where it starts. If you do that, then that kind of drives out certain artifacts that are necessary to actually build an implementation strategy.
There's no reason for revolving the activity around a specific business objective that they care about already. It's already a priority for them.
Okay. One last quick question, and I'll ask this one just because it's a topic that we haven't really touched on in any of the previous questions. Question here is saying, regarding disaster recovery, what are the main problems you've faced with SOA, and how have you tackled those problems? What's the relationship with SOA and disaster recovery?
Well, I was going to say that SOA is part of the answer insofar as it gives you more degrees of freedom in terms of resilience, in terms of redundancy, in terms of how you put together service endpoints. So the ESB at the technology level allows you to do all those sorts of things and actually build scale and resilience into infrastructure. So that's a good thing. And as I say, if you can do the same at the business process level as well, then you get more dynamic in your ability to improve service levels and to change and make decisions around service endpoints, essentially. So services, typically the IT guys think in terms of where are my web services, how many have I got, and what's the level of granularity. I think typically we would expect, you've got, 40 or so is a kind of a useful number, rule of thumb, of real IT core functions or services rather that you want to expose to the business. And maybe you've only got 15 or 20 real core business services that you're looking to aggregate and to use in different ways. And that's the kind of model to get your head around. And once you've got that in mind, and that's what you're really managing your service level against, that's how you start to build your resilience and your disaster recovery and all those other things to make sure the business stays up and keeps running.
Yeah, nothing really to add. It's the same sort of principles that you would use with traditional systems in terms of redundancy and routing, etc.
Okay, thanks for your answers to those questions, gents. Thanks to all of you for posing those questions to our experts as well. I'm afraid that's all we've got time for now. Before we go, there is just one last thing I'd like to ask of you. You'll see that one of the tabs on your screen also says Take Our Survey. It'd be great if you could just take 30 seconds just to click on that tab and click on the link inside, which will just flash up a very brief feedback questionnaire. It would be great if you could take the chance just to fill that out, to tell us what you thought about the seminar you've just been watching. It's always useful to get your feedback to help us to continuously improve the web seminars that we provide for you. Other than that, all that remains is for me to thank our experts today. You've heard from Dale Vile, Research Director at Freeform Dynamics, and Gary Gomersall, SOA Business Executive from IBM Software. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your contributions today. We've been talking to you about how SOA strategy can help you to reduce IT spending, and I hope we've given you some useful tips and hints and best practices that you can take away. If you want to review anything we've talked about or have a look back at some of the slides, then this seminar is going to be available to watch on demand in probably 2 or 3 days' time from when it goes out live. So if you want to go back and check out any of the slides, that'll give you an opportunity to do that. The last thing I want to say is just to thank all of you for taking the time to spend during this web seminar with us today, and I hope to get